Hello and welcome to BNN Canada with me, Nivedna Prabhu. Today on the episode, I am joined in by Reni Barlow, who is the Executive Director of Youth Science Canada. Reni, thank you so much for taking the time out and coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Pleasure to join you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out again. And my first question to you would be, what is Youth Science Canada all about? What can you tell our audience about the same?
Well, Youth Science Canada is a national charity whose focus is on fueling the curiosity of young Canadians through STEM projects, science, technology, engineering, and math. And what we try to do is to get youth, primarily in grades 7 to 12, actually doing science and technology. So we want them to identify an interesting question or a challenging problem and then pursue it and try to come up with an answer to the question or a solution to the problem.
Well, that sounds really interesting. But this time around, is there anything different from, it's been there for quite some time now. So is there anything different that people can expect this year? What can you tell us about that?
Well, this year we're having to do everything online, of course, because of COVID-19. Normally, what would happen is that about 500,000 students across the country would be working on some kind of project in school, at home, in their basement, or wherever. And then they would take those projects to school and potentially on to a regional science fair and then on to the Canada-wide science fair, which would have been happening this week in Edmonton. But this year, because of COVID, most of the regional fairs have been canceled. And of course, the Canada-wide Science Fair, which was a week-long event for the top 500 students in the country, it was also canceled. So we decided to take it online, switch it up a little bit, and open it to all grade 7 to 12 students who have a project across Canada.
What are the key challenges of moving online? Has there been anything on that front for you guys?
Well, the primary challenge, I guess, there were really two. One was to find a platform in order to be able to do this. And we partnered with an organization, engineering.com. They're based in Mississauga, and they had developed a few years ago a project called Project Board. And so we partnered with them to kind of accelerate this and enable us to do this more quickly. And they've been great to work with. And then the other challenge, of course, was the timeline, because we wanted to make sure that this was available around the same time that the Canada-wide Science Fair was on. And we didn't really start on this until the end of March, of course, because that's around the time when everything was closing up. So we actually managed to take it from concept to launch in 37 days. So it's been a bit of a run.
Right. Having said that, you of course have been associated with Youth Science Canada for a very long time now. How do you, with digital and technology making its way in every possible way in every industry, at least for the past 5 years, it has had a huge development. How are you seeing that aspect in terms of projects with technology and digital playing its big role in this sphere of the industry?
We've actually been seeing projects related to digital technology probably for about 25 or 30 years, maybe more. Because the kids that we work with, the students tend to be on the leading edge. They like to play with digital technology, and so we see a lot of projects related to computers and robotics. And we have students working with Arduino and Raspberry Pi and programming with sensors and doing a whole variety of things. So doing things related to digital technology is not particularly new.
Right.
The challenge really is now taking the platform digital and enabling students to post their projects. So now we have students, we're asking them to create a 1-minute video describing their project, and then we have fairly tight word limits on the text that they can put on, so that it keeps it interesting and engaging for viewers and people who come to visit the site.
In terms of people who will get to see the exhibits, what can they really look forward to this year? Also considering it's going online, if you could shed some light on that.
Sure. Well, on it's open now for students to enter projects, and they've had since the 4th of May, and they'll through to the 18th of May to finish entering their projects. And then on the 19th, it goes public, and so visitors, which includes anyone who wants to go, but we're particularly targeting students and teachers and parents who are in the learning at home phase and who might be looking for a sort of virtual field trip, as it were, to go and have a look. What they'll be able to see is hundreds of projects done by students in grades 7 to 12 in 8 different challenge areas that they can explore, and they have a chance to watch these 1-minute videos, read through the projects, and be amazed at the ideas and the creativity and ingenuity that the students display. Because every year we're amazed by the projects that show up. Some remarkable work that's done, everything from at home to some students who are working in university and research labs in their spare time.
Well, that's a very interesting that you say, considering they are of course young talent and of course the future of the STEM industry. So, how important are such events or platforms for young students today?
Well, these are really important because the students, especially those who are, who get really serious about this, often it starts with a really simple project like testing something or, baking cupcakes and checking the ingredients and leaving some out to see what happens. But it moves from simple projects to much more complex projects, and so we have students who work on these projects for weeks or months, or in some cases the full year. And so when it's canceled, like it has been this year, students who've kind of poured their heart and soul into these projects are really at a bit of a loss, because they love to share the projects with people, get feedback, and have some interaction with STEM professionals. So it's really important for us to have these kinds of platforms, whether they're physical and people can go and actually see the projects, or whether they're virtual and online like this year.
Considering it's going online, what are the key pointers that you would like to give students who are participating this year?
I think the really key things are to remember that people have short attention spans, especially online, and so we've said keep the video short, no more than 1 minute, make it clear, focus on the project and follow it all the way through. Tell a bit of a story about the project, how it came to be, why you did it, what you did, what you found out, and why it's important. And then in the written portion, again, be brief. Focus on those key questions. We've broken it down for the students into why, what, how, so what, and so on, and really wanting them to focus on communicating effectively what it is they've done and why it matters.
Generally, when a project is picked, and of course, a project does get selected, what are the criteria for actually, handing over that sort of, let's say, like a prize for that project? What are the selection criteria?
Well, this version of the fair is welcoming everybody. So we're welcoming every grade 7 to 12 student from Canada, from across Canada, who's done a project. In terms of the judging, we're keeping it relatively straightforward and simple. We're only awarding virtual ribbons. There are no big prizes or cash awards or trips or anything like that. But the kinds of things that our judges are looking for are things like, scientific excellence. So a well-constructed question that they're answering, or they've identified a clear problem. They've followed a clear methodology and are able to explain what they did and how they did it clearly. That the conclusions that they come to when they say, "Oh, this is what I found," that those conclusions are clearly tied to the data and the information or the testing that they did through their experiment or developing a prototype, and then that they're able to explain why what they did is important and why it would make a difference for people, or to be some potentially a commercially viable sort of solution that could go on and in the spirit of entrepreneurship maybe become a business or something like that.
In terms of what your message would be for participants as well as the audiences who would, of course, like you said, they can, of course, view the exhibits on May 19th when it goes public. What message would you like to give them before I let you go?
Well, I think it's, if you have an idea or you have a question or you're intrigued by a problem, follow it up. I mean, there are a lot of young people who don't realize that they have the potential to actually make a real difference, to improve the lives of people, to make the world a better place. And so our key message really is that if you have an idea or you have a solution to a problem in mind, pursue it. Don't just think that just because you're young and that it's not worth doing. And once you've done that, then have a look at our site at youthscience.ca and look at the opportunities to share that with the world through science fairs and the online STEM fair.
Well, fantastic. We're looking forward to all the fantastic exhibits on May 19th. And thank you so much for taking the time out and coming on our show today.
No problem. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much.